Yep. And welcome back to Talking Knicks. Another electric week for one of the worst teams in NBA history. A couple losses and then a huge game of the season. Final seconds. LeBron James in the Garden, his favorite playground. He's blocked by Mario Hezonja. You couldn't write this stuff if you wanted to, if you had a soul, because it hurts mine to watch. We are a full house today, people. I'm talking Ken Poon. I'm talking Greg Poon. I'm talking Tommy Piccolo. I'm Jake Storielli. Let's talk Knicks. Welcome back. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy Knicks win. We're out of our 8-game slide. I still don't think the playoffs are looking good, but we're playing some form of basketball out there. Let's go around the horn. Greggy P and the Power of Three. How are you? What'd you do for St. Patty's Day? Tell everyone about your goatee and maybe your T-shirt too, because I still don't get it, and you told us about it.
I have a 1-week goatee.
Okay.
Wearing a T-shirt from Hamburg of a person. And my
we don't
St.
know
Patrick,
the person now.
There's no context. So the thing is, my friends went to Hamburg, and when they came back, they gave me this shirt, knowing that it didn't make any sense.
Okay.
So that's why they gave it to me. They were like, and I was like, thank you. This is the greatest shirt I've ever seen.
We'll put a picture of the shirt in the show notes.
Yeah. I'll draw it and email it to every single person. That's probably the easiest. Today, I was hanging out with some friends, and then we were like, all right, let's go get some dinner. Let's go to Chick-fil-A. Then we drove there, and it was closed.
It's Sunday.
Yeah. Lesson learned. Then I went to Wendy's.
Sunday?
Was that really a lesson you needed to learn?
Yeah. Tom,
You'd
you
be
ever been to Chick-fil-A?
surprised. When you coerce yourself into going to Chick-fil-A and you get there and it's not open, one of the lower feelings you'll have in this life or the next.
I feel like that's one of the 3 things that every person should know about Chick-fil-A is that it's closed on Sundays.
Don't name the other 2.
I'm so interested in the other 2.
So I've only been to Chick-fil-A twice in my life. This is the thing.
Wow.
That's fair.
Well, it's a lesson you only need to learn one time. That's a good thing.
No, you'd be
But
surprised.
no one in that car with you was like, oh, it's Sunday.
We weren't thinking. We were blinded by the hunger.
I think there's some subliminal marketing in there. And like when Chick-fil-A comes on tough times, they're going to open on Sundays. And it's just going to be a whole new world. And speaking of someone who can sing every word to a whole new world, Ken Poon. Happy St. Patrick's Day. How are you?
I thought you were going to go to Tom on that one. I was surprised when you came to me. I'm good. My Villanova Wildcats got seeded into the tournament, slotted in there as a 6 seed, which was a little surprising. Everyone was saying they might be a 5. Whatever, because they're playing up in Hartford, and we're me, Greg, my other brother Rob, and 2 of my cousins, JP and Brian, are going up to the games on Thursday and on Saturday, both sessions. So I'll get a chance to see them. I'll get a chance to see Ja Morant, who could be playing for the Knicks next year, maybe, depending on what happens with the lottery and what happens this summer. And just excited about that stuff. So good solid weekend so far.
I like that a lot. V for Villanova, V for victory. I can root for them a little bit. Who's the tough team in Villanova's bracket or teams?
So I think they're in Gonzaga's bracket. I don't know if anyone else knows if that's right. But if they win, then they're playing St. Mary's. If they win, they would most likely be playing Purdue, who a decent amount of people have in the Final Four. So that's those are the big names, I think.
Okay. Well, we'll root for your Cats if needed, and maybe that Ja Morant guy. The hype around him is starting to build up more. People are with RJ Barrett slipping a little bit, people are really starting to like Ja Morant. So maybe we'll see some of that. And to the Ja Morant of this podcast, Thomas J. Piccolo. Top of the evening to you, Tom.
Thought you were going back to Greg there. See, I'm a little my weekend was fine. Friday night, I actually met up with Kenny in New York. We went to a couple bars, watched that Villanova game go into overtime. Then we actually went to a Knicks viewing party with a bunch of fellow New York Knicks podcasters and bloggers. It was like the nerdiest Knicks meetup of all time, but it was a good time. I got to talk to some folks we've only chatted to on podcasts and stuff like that. So, shout out Knicks Film School. I met Jonathan Macri, Jeremy Cohen, Zach DeLuzio, Alex Wolf, all listeners of the pod. So, it's good meeting those folks finally. And yes, I mean, it was a really Knicks-centric weekend. I wrote an article about the Knicks on Saturday. I watched them play today on Sunday. So I'm kind of all Knicksed out, but let's talk about it.
Were you throwing elbows? Were you guys throwing bows at the Knicks watch party or what?
No, very few bows were thrown. It was it was for the Garden of Dreams benefit, so it was very cordial for the most part. Not a lot of trash talking going on.
A guy from Hard Knicks Life handed us a I don't know if it's a sticker or something. It's like, oh, Hard Knicks Life, give it a listen. I said, do you know who the F you're standing next to? This is Tom Piccolo. Yeah. He's kind of famous. Don't come in here acting like you don't know who you're talking to.
Kenny did not make any friends.
Yeah. No one there liked me. I was escorted out, but we had already had our fun. To be fair to me, I was watching the Villanova game beforehand, so maybe wasn't in the right spot, but It is what it is.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say glad you guys represented well, but now I'm not sure.
Should we just tell stories about getting kicked out of bars?
Yeah, I think that would probably be more fun than talking Knicks.
This is gonna be a good one.
Guys, we're racking up W's against the King in his favorite playground. I guess let's cover the games this week because, as per usual, in talking Knicks, that's usually the low point. You guys mentioned the watch party. I believe that was the night of the Spurs game, right?
Correct.
Dennis Smith Jr. sat out with his back injury. I don't know. Dame Dot gets 21 points. Kadeem Allen show is back and better than ever. Bully balling guys. Knicks get blown out, 109-83. And then we played
this for a bit.
Yeah. 27-14. Spurs outscored the Knicks in the final quarter. That's how you tank, folks. And then earlier in the week, the Knicks actually try a little comeback against the Pacers. They come up short because that's what they do. Dame Dot with a few good games. Knox Tape with a few games. I'll go to the. I was gonna say I'll go to the point guard, and I was gonna name any one of you, but I'll go Greggy P. Greggy, what are your Knicks thoughts on the actual basketball this week?
I didn't think much of it. So I'll talk about Knox today is what I'll talk about.
Okay.
So we've been giving Knox a hard time. Deservedly so. 2 for 7 against the Spurs. 8 for 14 today. So I think he scored 10 or 11 in the first quarter. So he came out firing. I know Clyde said this is the best Knox we've seen. He was knocking down shots. And he looked good. I know last week Jake said, if push comes to shove and the trade package has to be made for somebody in order for us to get good people, we wouldn't mind throwing Knox in just because we've seen him do some stuff that you don't want to see. But this week he comes back 5 for 9 against the Pacers, 16 points. And then, as I said, 8 for 14 against the Lakers, 19 points. Those are good numbers. That's what we want to see from this guy. And if this guy can keep doing stuff like that, that's good.
That is good, Greg. And I like that. We get a little knock spiel out there. Maybe that's instead of just hitting the games, we get everyone's one takeaway from the week. Ken, what's your takeaway from this week?
My takeaway is that I might get a Mario Hezonja jersey.
Okay.
Just for fun. Along with Knox, Mario Hezonja is another guy that we've been kind of hard on. And he came back. He had his little injury bout. I know some people were wondering if we'd seen the last of him in a Knicks jersey. He had a solid game today all around, but then came up really big at the end of the game, which I think I don't need to tell anyone because it's all over the place, but he blocks LeBron James, who claims to be the king of New York. And that just made my day. And pretty pumped about it, and that's why I'm going to get a Hezonja jersey.
Okay. I'd say, yeah, after today was the first day I missed Enes Kanter being a Knick, because I think he would have had a ton of fun with that, whether it was an Instagram post or – you know what, he probably would have done something. He probably would have gotten LeBron's face, and then I'd be defending LeBron just because Kanter – I can't talk Kanter.
So early in that game, the Lakers threw a pass to LeBron, and Hezonja jumped up to get it and kind of bumped into LeBron in the back, and LeBron flopped and was on the ground holding himself, pretending like he was injured. And from that point on, Hezonja was mad at LeBron. They didn't like each other, and you didn't think what happened was going to happen, but you knew that Hezonja really wanted it to happen, because right after that happened, Hezonja went right at LeBron, and LeBron literally just swatted the ball off his knee, and it bounced out of bounds. And then LeBron came down and just scored immediately, easily. And you're like, oh, this is an unfair duel. Yeah, the feud is over. But it wasn't. It was not. And Hezonja would ultimately win.
Man, it's so funny that Hezonja's had the season he's had and is the player he is, but he's easily had the top two highlights of this season with his posterizing Giannis and stepping over him, and then this block on LeBron to seal this game.
Who else did he posterize? He had a second poster dunk, I think.
I think you're right.
I vaguely remember that.
You keep talking, I'll look at him.
Marquise Chris for the Cavs.
Ooh.
Yeah,
it was recent. Yeah, it was
another NBA elite.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a really good one.
That was a cockback throw.
That was the one. Yeah, DeAndre made his similar face to when he threw one down years back. Yeah, that was a crazy dunk. But no, Hezonja is the highlight machine, despite being one of the less productive players on the team. But
let's bring him back on a minimum next year. How about that?
It's worth it for entertainment value. Completely agree with that.
If you're not a Knicks fan and you only see Mario Hezonja's highlights, you would think he's a pretty good player.
Mario Hezonja is going to get signed for the next 15 years because some lazy GM is only going to look at his highlights and be like, I think we got to bring this guy in and see if we can get the best out of him.
Yeah. He's like Jeff Green. This guy is about to hit his potential.
It's a good call. Yeah, he's a modern Jeff Green.
The Euro Jeff Green.
It's crazy. That's well, in a lot of circles, that's a pretty big insult. But for what we normally say about Mario Hezonja, that's not bad. So good for Super Mario. And you're right. It's an exciting moment. LeBron James in the Garden. Unbelievable. We'll look back. I will say this. I've had a little bit of that Knicks just giant fear of being a Knicks fan leak in recently. I just feel like the Lakers will end up in a draft slot one higher than us because of this loss, and then they get a better player than us. I feel like there's still going to be a Knicks falter coming up, but I'm a dog. This is how I've been conditioned to be a Knicks fan. And I don't know. We can get some more Knicks feeling coming up. I think we'll go back to Noxie. Because you're right. He had a really good game today. In his last 5, his percentages are good, and there's one dud in there. But his last 5, he's shooting 53% from 3. We like that. Doesn't seem sustainable. but we like that. And he's shooting, 44% from the field? 43.4, excuse me. So, Kenny, Knox tape, do we think we're going to get a sprint to the finish line, or do we think this is an aberration, or what?
I mean, so on last week's podcast, I think I said that I am higher on a lot of people when most people are lower. So I just do the opposite of whatever the crowd does, whatever most people do. And I am less concerned about Knox than most people, just because, like we say, we've seen enough of the flashes in, I don't know, it was January, December, where like we saw what he can do. Like, we're not really playing for anything at this point. He's been playing a lot of minutes, I believe the most on the Knicks. It's his first season in the NBA, so like maybe he tired down. And then he comes in to this game today and he shows us again the kind of player that he can be. And that's all I want to see from the young players is we see stretches where they do things that you want an NBA player to do, and then just gradually that becomes more and more consistent until they're a good player. And today we saw a lot of that. He was driving strong to the hole. He had a couple nice finishes at the rim. Didn't do as much of the Tom floater that Tom likes to criticize, but I think he was going harder than I've normally seen him just for layups. He had a nice step back on, I want to say it was LeBron in the first, and I was like, oh, that was nice. That was pretty cool. It was a nice thing to see. And just like all of those things add up over time. And I think he's going to be fine, and I'm happy with what we got out of him today.
And Tommy, I know that the floater already got brought up, and if you want to talk about it, I mean, and I guess I don't know if it was hypercritical or if I was trying to be too real about it, but again, with Kevin Knox's age, and I think the biggest takeaway, because you could go half glass full, half glass empty on this guy pretty easily, but I will say this, his 3-point shooting has been a lot better than we've expected this year. Is that going to be the big takeaway? Are we just going to tell ourselves that as Knicks fans, or what else should we be taking away?
Yeah, I think if you just look at the raw statistics, his 3-point percentage doesn't look that impressive. But, I mean, when you just watch him in the games, the stroke looks so good, and it's pretty versatile. He'll do it off the dribble. He'll do it coming off screens. He's a fine catch-and-shoot guy. I just wrote an article about Knox yesterday, so I've got some numbers in my head here. On catch-and-shoot threes for the season, he's hitting about 33.5% of those, which isn't great, but he's taking a ton of them. So, like, you like to see the high volume at least. And then on wide open threes, he's hitting 37.5%. So that's encouraging. Like, he's hitting the wide open ones, the ones he should be. And you just think that as he gets stronger, as he gets teammates who will, who are more dynamic, who can play make and get him into more wide open positions, that his 3-point numbers will creep up in the years to come. Like, his 3-point shooting is really the one part of his game that I'm not worried about at all.
And it's coming in from Kentucky, that was kind of a concern with him. And I mean, it's not it's 4.5 attempts a game from a 19-year-old. So I definitely think that's something to build upon. I will say this. If Kevin Knox can finish out these remaining games at even the past 5, 27 minutes, 12.5 points, I think something like that, I know he's averaging 12.2 in the season, but if he can show me either a little consistency or a couple good spurts at the end of the year, I'm going to feel a lot better about him. And someone, I guess, and it's not too hard to get yourself in a position to be talked about on a Knicks podcast. I was gonna go to Dame Dot. I'll save that for later. Let's talk about the enigma that is Emmanuel Mudiay. The Mudiay show was back this week in full force. Some oddly efficient scoring numbers in the. Was it the Pacers game? No, he didn't play the Pacers game.
No, he played. He didn't start. 7 for 14. 7 for 14, 21 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds.
Yeah, 21 points on 14 shots. We see him He gets, I think he has a very similar stat line today, 28 points on 11 shots. Greggy P, the Moutier show. I mean,
No one knows.
I know. That's why I'm just giggling here like a fool, because it's like there's times when he's seems like the only option on our team, and then there's other times when it's we don't want this guy in the court at all. So what do we do?
No one knows, man. I mean, he takes a lot of interesting shots. I know Zach Lowe has noted it. He likes to dribble to nowhere and then take a fadeaway jump shot in the long 2-pointer range, which isn't what you want ideally, but apparently he's been hitting them at a high percentage. So he's an enigma. I agree. I can't say enough. 8 for 11 today for 28 points, which is crazy. And he had the 2 game-winning free throws because the Lakers fouled him for no reason with way too much time left on the clock. It was crazy. But I don't think he'll be back next year because I think he's shown that he can do this type of thing, which is going to get him a decent contract. I don't know how much it's going to be, but it's going to be out of our price range, I assume, for a backup point guard. Maybe a bad team gives him their mid-level. So I don't know. You never know I never know what he's doing.
I don't know what he's doing out there. Thomas, you're not a Moutier guy. I think that's fair. I don't know. Do you have something on his role with the Knicks or his role in the future? Could he ever be in the top 7 of a competing team, or what is Manny Moutier?
I'd say pretty firmly no. He could never be in the top 7 of a very good team. But I mean, I will acknowledge that these past 3 games, so this past week, he's been really good offensively, or at least his box score stats would indicate he's been really good. I will say I've watched the games and I haven't thought that, but at the same time, he's just been making shots. He's been making threes and making his mid-rangers. So when you do that, it kind of makes up for a lot of your mistakes. He's still turning the ball over a crazy amount. He does this thing where it's a pretty common thing to do in middle school and high school, where you jump up in the air before you make a pass, before you know what you want to do with it. I mean, it used to drive my dad crazy when I do it, but Moutier still does it at the professional level multiple times a game. And I want to say on that last play when he got those 2 free throws in this Lakers game, he jumped up in the air to make a pass again, and the Lakers just fouled him. So, I mean, it worked out this time, but look, Moutier's hitting a ridiculous number of his threes right now. So I'm looking since the All-Star break. So in the last 12 games, he's hitting 47% of his threes on 3 attempts per game. So it's not nothing. And it's just, that's not sustainable. He is also turning the ball over the same amount as he's assisting. It's about 3.1 to 3.1 per game. That 1-to-1 ratio is not what you want out of a point guard. I don't think he can be I don't think he can be a really good backup point guard for a winning team, frankly. I just don't think he has the vision. I don't think he has the burst to beat guys. JaVale McGee was switching off onto him, and he couldn't quite get around him. And if you don't think that the mid-range jump shot and the 3-point shooting is sustainable, then I don't, then yeah, you don't think he's got a place in the league for very much longer.
Yeah, it's that 3.1 to 3.1, Tom. I mean, that's the story for me. If you're a point guard, you have to do better than that. If you're any guard, you kind of have to do better than that. And I think let's get off Manny Money. It had to be discussed. He had a very nice week. Good for you, Emmanuel. Kenneth, I love kicking it to you on this one because he's your guy, your boy. Dame Dot Show. The Dame Dot Show was back this week. We see him. He goes for 21 against the Spurs. Today, he put up what? He put up 25 points against the Lake Show. And even against the Pacers, he put up an 18 spot this week. So, and we're seeing him get serious minutes, 36 minutes, 35 minutes, 41 minutes tonight from the Dame Dot Show. Your boy, Ken.
Dude, Dame Dot might be the best first quarter player in the NBA. I don't know if I don't know if the stats back me up on this, but there have been. I want to say this is the fourth time he just kind of went off in the first quarter. I think he started something like 6 for 6, 7 for 7, which is pretty cool. If he could sustain that for an entire game, it'd be even better. Like, imagine if he just never missed any shots. That'd be pretty good for the team. But Dame Dot, I said it last week, I'll say it again. He's one of the guys on this team that, regardless of what happens this summer, if he is on the team next year, I think he is a valuable player just because he's shown a little bit of that scoring punch. He's shown the ability to shoot a little bit, and he's shown the ability to defend one-on-one. I know Tom says that he hasn't been great off the ball, but he's been a very good one-on-one defender, and he's got good athleticism and a good stroke. So I'm excited to see what he could do on a good team.
Yeah, I think that he's got a serious chance for what I'm going to call, and I'll link it back to your Villanova, Ken, but kind of the Josh Hart effect. We've seen a lot of NBA fans fall in love with Josh Hart this season because he does a lot of the little things. He can play basketball. He can play a little defense. He can shoot some threes. If this Knicks thing goes properly and we bring in the right guys next year, Dame Dot could put up the same numbers and essentially thrive and become a well-known NBA guy. Or I wonder if some of that Tom stuff, some of the help defense and some of the little things maybe would get more exposed that we ignore because he's normally playing around the Knicks. Greg, where are you at with Dame Dot?
Dame Dot's a straight guy. He can play defense. I said it a long time ago on this podcast, but he's, like Kenny said, he fits on any team. I think he could get minutes on the Warriors. That's how we should measure people. If you would just put him in the Warriors, he could get 15 minutes. I feel like I say this name about a lot, but Alfonso McKinney. That's the type of player he is.
We do say that an odd amount for a Knicks podcast.
I feel like I just say everyone is Alfonso McKinney for whatever.
He's your base. He's your standard for conducting science experiments. 22.5 points over his last 4. Do I need to be more passionate, Tom?
I think you might. I mean, there's no doubt he's gotten a lot better this year, and it's not just the scoring. Like, that is nice. I'm looking at his stats since the All-Star break. So he's played, I think, 12 games, I want to say. Yep, he's played 12 games. He's taken 7 threes per game and hitting 42.2% of those. Like,
let's go.
That's really legitimate. I mean, he doesn't get to the free throw line at all. He really is like a jump shooter exclusively. You don't see him do a lot of driving. He does a little cutting off the ball, which is more than you could say about most of the Knicks. What I really like about him is he rebounds the ball really well. So he's averaging 5 rebounds per game since the All-Star break. I'm pulling up some stats here. He's like one of the best rebounding guards in the league. I have that right here. I mean, you don't need stats for everything, Tom. Get off it.
He runs around a good amount, right? He cuts a little bit.
Those are the stats I'm looking for.
He cuts. You said he cuts a decent amount, but does that include him just like run around screens and whatnot? Is that included in cutting? I don't know.
I wasn't even looking. Like, I was just from watching him play. He actually like cuts to the basket, whereas a lot of guys just don't do it at all. He just seems to have a good feel on the offensive end. And then the last thing I want to say is he's been passing the ball better. He's averaging about 3 assists per game since the All-Star break. It just looks like he's operating more out of the pick and roll. He's finding guys, and those are all things you need to be able to do on a winning team. So, no matter, like Kenny says, like no matter who's on the team next year, Dotson can be a productive player, and I'm not worried about the off the ball stuff getting more exposed at when this team's playing national games a lot. Like, that doesn't really worry me. He seems to be a worker. Like, I think he'd figure it out.
And 8 games in the month of March, because you can sample size things and how you want, but 8 games in the month of March, 34 minutes. He's shooting 41% on 6.3 3-point attempts per game, 16, 5.5, and 3. yeah, sign me up for that. I think it's funny when we start doing this Knicks Dream World. And Greg, you're right. Alfonso McKinney is the name to bring up because when you start building these, super teams or whatever you want to call them, you're so invested to, if we get Kevin Durant and Kyrie, so much of your team's budget goes there that you can't sign all the Mario Hezonias you want to, So I don't know. I think when we start talking what this next Knicks team can look like, I think we have to put more of an emphasis on Damian Dotson because he did get lost in the shuffle for a little bit there. I don't know if it was during the Fizdale minute times or whatever that was, but it's good to see him back. He's balling. He deserves a Knicks podcast to be talking about him, which I don't know if we can say that about all the players.
Wait. Don't you feel like Alfonso McKinney's like a big fan of this podcast?
I'm not saying he's not.
He listens to it and he hears his name and he's like, what's going on? What's up with these guys?
Why they're always talking about me. It always comes up in Google Analytics. Well, that's basically how he got on Golden State. That's another story for a rainy day. A quick send it back around, Tom. I think the most exciting thing in Knicks land for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the past 20 years was Mitchell Robinson. And now we've seen him come against the wall a little bit. Is there something you're seeing or just how the ball bounces sometimes or what?
Yeah, I think like what Mitchell Robinson actually is at this point in his career is somewhere in between like the highest to high that we saw for the last couple of weeks. And then from what we've seen this past week, just these last 3 games, he's averaging 3.7 points in 16 minutes. Just 5 rebounds, and still over 2 blocks per game, which is nice. But I think a lot of the issue has been foul trouble, right? Like he can't stay on the court, and maybe he's getting a little tired. I don't think people always note him huffing and puffing when he gets going up and down. So he could be getting tired. Plus foul trouble could contribute to more, or plus his exhaustion could contribute to more foul trouble. So I'm not concerned about it. Like he's already shown more than enough flashes to be encouraged about him for next season. So I don't worry about this stuff.
And we also saw a big dose of DeAndre Jordan this week, who had a couple really nice games. He's averaging 7 assists over the past 3 games. You could say he's the best passer on the Knicks, which is another fun Knicks being Knicks segment, I guess we could say. Ken, where are you at with the bigs?
With who?
The bigs. Mitch, a little DeAndre.
Kenny wasn't listening to any of that. He did not.
No.
Yeah, I was looking up stats. Sorry, but Mitch, I'm in the same place that I was with Knox. I'm fine if he has kind of a low point at this point. He's been playing really well. He's still getting his blocks in, which I'm still excited to just see how high that streak can get. I believe it's at 18 games right now.
I think it was
DeAndre. What's that?
It might be 27 with 1 block too, in addition to that 18-game streak.
Yeah, also true. DeAndre had his 9 assist game last game against, I think was it the Spurs that he had the 9 assist game?
Yep, 9 against the Spurs, 7 against the Lakers, 5 against Indy.
And that's kind of an interesting development. And a few, if you watch the highlights, I know a few of them were backdoor cuts, and I feel like they're putting him in the same position that the Pistons put Andre Drummond in a couple years ago, where they were running the offense through him and letting him just kind of pick his situations to get passes in. And the interesting thing about that is it's making the team cut more. So I know early in the season, and Tom's talked about it a lot, there was just no ball movement or no player movement if you didn't have the ball, except for Mario Hezonja. In the last couple games, I feel like we've started to see a little more of that movement, which is it's promising. I know it's the end of the year, and a decent amount of these players won't be on the team next year, but any improvement on the actually having an offensive scheme, I am for. So I'm pretty excited about that.
And I'll say that Mitchell Robinson reminds me a little bit of Alphonso McKinney. I'm just kidding. I love Mitchell Robinson. I can't. I was just repeating. I'd be repeating everything we always say about him if I went on a spiel now.
Let me do a quick yay or nay. If our two centers on our roster next year are DeAndre Jordan and Mitchell Robinson, are you happy with that, Greg?
Yeah, I think so. That's two very good centers. I mean, do you need that much value? I mean, the thing is, Robinson's on such a cheap contract that, whatever you have to pay DeAndre, you're only spending X on the center position itself. But we'll see if DeAndre is willing to take a big enough pay cut to let the other big guys come.
I like that budgeting.
I'd be happy.
Ken?
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I'm a big fan of both of them, and I think both of them bring something different. And I also think that would probably mean that we didn't strike out and sign DeMarcus Cousins. So that's also a good sign.
Ooh, little backhand at DeMarcus. What was the stat you were looking up before?
I was trying to look up the two-block situation, but I didn't get there because you called on me.
You're good. Tom, DeAndre Jordan, Mitchell Robinson, your Knicks centers, 2019-2020.
I think it does depend on what you end up paying DeAndre Jordan, even though Mitchell Robinson's on this bargain deal, you don't want to use that as an excuse to give DeAndre a bad contract. If it's for 1 year, that wouldn't concern me too much. It just, so much hinges on free agency, but yeah, overall, I like those two guys as centers. DeAndre Jordan is the best passer on the Knicks, so that hurts to say, but it seems like he kind of mentors Mitch a little bit, and I don't know. I don't know how much they should attribute Mitch's improved free throw shooting to DeAndre's presence. Probably very little, but I don't know. I just like DeAndre Jordan's presence on the team, his leadership, and the fact that he's close friends with Kevin Durant. So all that means, that's a yay for me.
Yeah, and if he's in Mitchell Robinson's head for another year, I think I'd like that. And I'm the kind of guy. This is a little bit lazy. I know, Kenny, you mentioned some of the different aspects of the game, but I almost like the similar aspects of the game. And your team can kind of mold around that. You've got rim protecting, lob threats, basically all game, and you can kind of mold your offense around that. We'll see. Please.
I also think that once we get Durant and Kyrie, DeAndre Jordan's going to be one of those good veterans who signs a minimum deal just because he feels like it. So you don't have to worry about overpaying him, Tom.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I'd say maybe a mid-level exception type at this point. I don't know. We'll get to that in the offseason. And guys, I don't know. We're at the odd point of talking Knicks where I don't know if I can talk about too much more on the court. Well, Lance Thomas, 3 for 4. No, I said this earlier, and I wanted to see if you guys had any of this. And I think there's a March Madness twist here, and it was seeing Zion operate this weekend. I had my first Knicks fear factor. I've known for a while that the ping pong balls are going to dictate things. I've even been saying that a little bit. But I had my first, when Hazonia blocked that shot, it was the first, are we fighting the gods too much on this one? Because it just feels like the draft lottery odds, you win a game here and there. Ken, I've just been I've been brainwashed as a Knicks fan to think the worst, and it's finally hitting me.
I think we are pretty safely in the last spot. I think we're 2.5 games behind the Suns, who have kind of gone on a little bit of a winning streak or a little bit of a tear lately. So I'm for just getting wins at this point because, I don't think we're going to pass the Suns. And even if we pass the Suns, it just pushes us down one spot. We don't lose out on the chances that we have in the top 4. Would it suck if we passed the Suns and then ended up with the 6th pick instead of the 5th? Yeah, but
Yes.
I don't think we're going to pass the
Confirmed.
Suns, and I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm not going to worry about it
Guys,
for
the Knicks.
getting another 1 or 2 wins
Sorry
this
to
season.
butt in, but the Knicks are 14-56,
Yes.
and you're worried about them winning 3 of their last 12 games. I want to put that out there.
I wouldn't say I'm worried too much about the winning. I guess like the Hazonia block and LeBron just seems like it just seems like we're just yanking on someone's chain at this point. So it's like is Alfonso McKinney, is he restricted free agent?
Oh.
So the Knicks would have to win the 3 games.
Right.
And both the Suns and the Cavs would have to lose every single game for the rest of the year.
Right.
In order for us to tie them for being the worst. That's how bad we are.
Okay. That makes me feel a little better. And I think Tom Bodadin, leave the light on for me. But I guess the other thing that's becoming this fear factor is the secondary tanking that's going on in the league. Like, the Lakers are essentially tanking at this point. The Mavericks are tanking at this point. I mean, there's a doomsday scenario where if the Knicks do land in the 5-hole or the 6-hole and the Mavs or Lakers jump up a big amount, I'm going to be shook to my core.
You want me to respond to that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, look. Are you guys on Tankathon right now?
Ooh,
No.
Should we each one run Tankathon?
I think that's good.
That's the best podcasting, from what I know. I'll go first. Sim lottery. Okay, we have the 5th pick. Perfect. Kill me.
All right, I'll go next. Sim lottery. We have the 4th pick.
Kill Jake.
The Pelicans have the 1st pick. You have 30 and 42.
All right, I'll go next. Sim lottery. Knicks have the 3rd pick.
Okay.
We could live with that.
We're creeping up, though.
Ken?
My turn.
Need it.
The Knicks end up with the 3rd pick.
It's gospel.
All right. No,
3rd
that's
pick
cool.
it is.
Four guys run the odds on being the worst team in the NBA, and we don't get the 2nd or 1st pick.
Did
This
any
is what
of
I'm
you have
talking
Dallas in the
about.
Top 5?
What?
Any of you have Dallas in the top 5 in yours? I did
don't.
Not.
I got
No.
Dallas 8.
So no one with Dallas in the top 5 either.
So what? It's 50-50 us being in the top 3, right? Or top 4.
Basically, yeah.
Top 4.
Yeah, it's 50. So we did better than that.
I don't know. It just
Look, you can't control the odds, guys. Like,
Yeah.
The Knicks
At
are
this
not-
point,
yeah.
Honestly, what I'll say is we don't want them to win our simulations right now. We want them to win the real one.
Yeah.
ooh.
Because this is actually good that we lost all these.
Yeah, we'd be wasting
And-
all the wins if they were first.
and like, there's nothing we can do. At this point, the odds are what they are. Like, we can be worried about them, but we have done our part. I'm pretty sure we're going to finish with a worse record. Like, there's nothing more we can do as a team.
Or as a
I am
Or as a
so happy that we are able to turn Tankathon's negative draft results into a positive using reverse fake statistics to say that we're going to have a better shot if we get all those bottom 5, those 5, 4, and 3 picks out of the way. That's what talking Knicks is about, people. I don't know, Tom. I know I kind of cut you off from I made that ridiculous ending on a sentence, but I mean, is can you calm me down? Don't worry about LeBron. Like LeBron James's Lakers sneaking ever so close to the top of a draft freaks me out.
That's fair. I guess the one thing I would say to console you is no matter what the Knicks do, their chances of getting that first overall pick don't really change. And then pretty much everything after that, like it's Zion and then everyone else. Like there's no second player in this draft who like you need to get. This isn't a 2-player draft. Like there's one transcendent talent here. And then does it really matter if you end up 2, 3, 4, 5? I don't know that it does. Like I haven't really dug into this draft all that much, and I plan to as the season winds down. But from everything I've heard, like it's not like there's a huge difference between the second prospect and the 5th one. So really, it is unless you get the first overall pick, like it doesn't really matter to me that much.
I mean, I think from what I've heard, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, there's Zion, and then there's Barrett and Morant, and then like there's a little bit of a drop off after them.
Yeah, I think Reddish wants to be involved in that conversation. Barrett's stock has gone down a little bit while Morant has gone up, and one good NCAA tournament game, it could go up even further. I guess that is a good point, though, Tom. I mean, even the fact that I can put those next 3 guys in a bucket helps.
Well, it's funny. So I was listening to the most recent Knicks Film School podcast, and they had on Spencer Perlman. He's a guy who is looking to get a job in an NBA front office. He's one of these guys who does a lot of scouting. He watches a ton of tape, and he's big into the draft. And so he was going through his big board, and he didn't have Reddish or Morant in the top 10. Like I hadn't heard that before, but like
we know Kevin McGovern. He's a friend.
No, I'm just saying.
He had Keita Bates-Diop in the top 3.
some talking Knicks inside humor, but
yeah,
I'm just saying, like, there's not a consensus around a lot of these guys. Like Cam Reddish, from everything I've heard, has been wildly unimpressive. RJ Barrett has not been like an efficient scorer. He's been more of like a volume scorer, kind of like an Andrew Wiggins type. So I know
whoa,
but like a Westbrook type.
This is an Alfonso McKinney podcast. Let's not bring Wiggins into it.
I'm just saying, like, I'll do some of my own research and have something for you guys. But at this point, if it's not Zion, I don't really care.
Ooh, that might be a good title for the pod.
You're gonna be you're setting yourself up for more disappointment than we are.
Yeah, that's another way to look at it too. Guys, where the hell is Frank? Is he just gone?
I really thought Frank was like someone from Talking Knicks, one of us podcasts. Like he dropped off or something. Didn't even think about Frank Ntilikina.
And that's literally where we're at.
He's sitting out so that we could tank because he's too good.
Yeah.
Guys.
I don't know, Ken. Hopefully he's healthy and plays some games.
That's what Hazonia was doing. He was sitting out because he's too good, and then he comes back and blocks LeBron at the end of the game to win the game. Is this what you want, Jake? You were the guy who was just freaking out.
It just felt like that block on LeBron for me felt like a tug on Superman's cape. Like it's daring LeBron to lose more and Adam Silver to just grab some lottery balls.
I don't think LeBron needs to try to lose at this point. He's like, the Lakers are bad. Like half their team is injured and the Lakers are bad and he's sitting out like every other game.
If it makes you feel any better, the Knicks are bad too. So
the Knicks are also bad.
If any of you guys want to get into an internet argument that you probably have to delete your Twitter over, it was something I was thinking about today. Could we compare LeBron to Melo this year? I'm just saying. The Lakers are what in the West?
I'm in.
So I don't know. If you really wanted to piss off some LeBron stands, I bet you could draw some parallels between LeBron's year this year and some of Carmelo's hated years. That's for another time, folks.
I like it.
I know you like that, Greg. We got 4 games this week. Toronto, oh my God, guys.
Yeah, the Knicks are also playing a lot of good teams in the rest of their season. It's another thing I wanted to bring up.
at Toronto, home versus Utah and Denver, and then the Clippers.
Glad we don't have to go to Utah.
Then I'm glad that we don't have to make any predictions this week.
It's 0-4. 0-4 is the prediction every week.
But this one is just
you
like
wanted 5 minutes ago, dude.
it's just 4 teams that are fighting for fighting for seeding. They really need to win these basketball games.
They really need to win these games.
It really is 0-4 every week, and some weeks we only play 3 games.
I don't know, guys.
No, but Jake, I mean, that's kind of what it sounds like what you wanted. Like you were worried about the Knicks winning games, and
so no, the winning didn't concern me. Knicks winning didn't concern me. It just the second tier of reverse tanking is worrying me. The new year of the odds, seeing Zion be as good as he is, watching Mario Hezonja block LeBron James in the Garden to end a basketball game.
So you're worried about the universe.
Jake has like mystic stuff, actually.
Yes.
Jake is the only Knicks fan in the world who is not pumped about Mario Hezonja blocking LeBron James to end a game.
I was hyper pumped, but I'm worried about the consequences. The universe is
he's worried about the karmic juju of it, which is really interesting. That you worry about that stuff, but
yeah, shows where I'm at.
I guess. No.
Boys, that's talking Knicks. Does anyone have any closing shots at the universe, at the Knicks?
We want to take shots at people? I'll take a shot at a person. I don't know who it was. But someone on Twitter tweeted how Derek Fisher's team had less talent than this, and they won 17 games. And I wanted to point out, which I did on Twitter, that Derek Fisher's team that won 17 games had Carmelo Anthony for 40 games. And bringing this full circle, with their win today, the Knicks record this season, they clinched a higher winning percentage than the Knicks had that season without Carmelo Anthony. So there you go.
Whoa. Kenny stats.
Yep.
Tom, that seemed like it alarmed you.
Kenny, do you remember who that was who tweeted? Was it Joseph Flynn who tweeted that?
I can look it up. It was someone, I think, from Posting and Toasting.
Yeah, so he's the co-editor of Posting and Toasting, and he writes for Vice Sports as well. And I think I remembered him tweeting that. So, I don't know.
Joe Flynn.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he tweeted that.
So he said that Derek Fisher was a better coach and that team played harder.
Yeah.
I don't think, just based on what I've seen, that Derek Fisher is really a better coach than anybody. But is that a parting shot? That might have been a parting shot.
Yeah. All right. So we got Joe Flynn, Johnny Flynn's cousin.
And Jake, actually wanted to say one more thing. It sounds like you have kind of like this conspiratorial side to you that thinks that Adam Silver and the league would conspire to get LeBron or someone else, like the Mavericks for some reason, the first round pick. Like they would actually be able to influence the lottery balls. Do you think that there's something to that like the league tries and puts a fix in for stuff like that? Like the frozen envelope for the Patrick Ewing thing and stuff like that?
So there's a couple things that go through my mind, and it's I love sports so much. Sports has been my life since I've known what life is. And
you know what life is?
No.
Feel free to share on the pod next week.
I think that's another pod.
There's a team.
I think there's beautiful stories in sports, and sports on TV every night is the original reality TV show. That's what sports was. Do I think there's a chance that these leagues are such big business, and that if you had the opportunity to make a slight zoink, pull a ball and get Zion on the Lakers? I mean, could you just imagine the media and the publicity the league would get if Zion and LeBron James were on the same team? I'm not saying I believe in it. I'm just saying.
On the flip side, the
Sure.
Knicks have stayed the same or moved down in every draft since Patrick Ewing. And if the league wants any team to be good, it's the New York Knicks. And they have not helped us
The biggest
at
market,
all.
the biggest market in the whole league. Yeah, like financially, it would benefit.
Have we seen their owner though? I'm just saying, if you want to connect some dots and go X-Files, then
The Knicks.
The number one, the person who's gotten the number one pick has been suspect a lot. You got the Cavaliers getting LeBron, the Bulls getting Derrick Rose. Those are both hometown guys. Then you just got the Cavaliers getting the number one pick like 3 years in a row.
But that's
LeBron left.
obvious. If you're trying to hide it, you wouldn't give the Cavs the number one pick like 3 years in a row. And it also happened when they didn't know that
hiding in plain sight, Tom.
But they also
that's how they throw the squares like you off the path.
Yes, you're thinking too hard.
You gotta get a little
Tom is saying, "Oh, it's probably not fixed because it looks like it's fixed."
But they didn't know that
that's what I'm hearing right now.
Cleveland at that time, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm hearing.
I hope Cleveland gets the number one pick.
Sources.
Why would they want Cleveland to have the number one pick if LeBron was in Miami and they didn't know he was going to go back? Like Anthony Bennett, Andrew Wiggins.
They knew he was going back.
Yeah.
Every year, the Kyrie year.
It's all part of the plan.
Jay-Z is in the Illuminati, and he owned the Nets for a while, and they didn't set it up for him. So nothing's happening, man.
Prokhorov traded every pick they have. I'm not saying. I just I like that there's a chance that we're all sheep and nothing matters anyways. Guys, that's how you that's showbiz, baby. I think it's the witching hour. When we get the whole crew together, it's always a blast for myself. And I usually try to ruin everyone else's experience. So thank you guys
for
doing that. If you like Rush Hour 2 or Alfonso McKinney, leave us 5 stars. No, this is 12 games left, boys. And then playoffs, other teams will still play basketball, and then we'll see that rigged lottery, and then we'll kind of know where this Knicks future is headed, which I guess that's exciting. It's 4 more weeks of really bad basketball, and then hopefully we won't have to see it for another 10 years or so. So for Gregory Poon, for Kenny Poon, for Tom Piccolo, go check out. Tom, what's your article this week? Do you have is it on Noxie? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's about whether David Fizdale has been putting Knox in the right positions to succeed this year, if Fizdale has kind of contributed to Knox's struggles at all on the offensive end. So,
you got any spoilers?
We're
going to have to read it.
Out tomorrow.
Okay.
And it's long. That's a spoiler. So go check it out on the B-Ball Index. It'll be out tomorrow.
Nice, Tommy. Go check that out. Check out the Talking Knicks Twitter. We're having fun there. And Talking Knicks at John Boy Media. We've got a website going. I think we're going to start getting some articles and stuff up there besides just pimping out Tom wherever he goes. So go check that out. If you've been listening, 5 stars. We appreciate you. Reach out. And let's go Knicks.
Let's go. Knicks tape.
Woo!